Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We've got a little bit of news today. We've got a little bit of stuff to cover. We've got a little bit of conversation to be had. I've headed over to StreamYard for this one because I just felt like it. I felt like I returned to the sort of home streaming sort of area. And we're going to start with some dramatic silence. I know, dramatic silence is always the way to go. But the dramatic silence is paving the way for me doing a shill and me saying you guys should get tickets to the Leeds Creator Cup. Link is down below. £7 for adults, £3 for kids. It's going to be a fantastic day. I've got some very, very fun surprises in store that I'm going to tell literally nobody except one person who I've already told. So that's going to be an adventure, isn't it? Yeah, hope you can be there. And if not, just watch the stream itself and subscribe to the channel, because for every subscriber that I've got full time at the end of the charity match, I'll be donating an extra 1p to Prostate Cancer UK. Currently sitting at around 63 quid. You guys can pump that up with a simple click. So go ahead and do that. And you can also be a channel member and all that kind of stuff. But there are various, I guess, bits and bobs of Leeds United news that are floating about today. So I thought I'd have a bit of a dive into them. The first of them is a little bit of conversation around the, just going to bring up his banner, the Douglas Luiz stuff. The Douglas Luiz thing, a lot of people are looking at and going, oh, Leeds United might be interested. I will be completely honest with you. As someone that has done my best to keep an eye on what's going on with all this news, it's a little bit of a complicated one. So, as far as I can tell, and from having had a chat with Andrea and various people that work in the Italy team for the company that I work for, the main aggregators are the main sources, are A, aggregators, so they're just getting news from other places, or B, they're fairly unreputable news sites. So specifically, Andrea pointed out the aggregator stuff a little bit earlier, and the sort of less reliable news sites thing was mainly brought up by a co-worker over in Italy. So on the Douglas Luiz stuff, I wouldn't mind him. He'd be a pretty damn good signing, but he's one that I would be very, very sort of cautious about saying that we are on the brink of getting or anything like that. It seems like one of those that is being pushed by the less reliable sort of elements and is getting a little bit spooky. I am going to address a comment, though, specifically from Jamie Miller, who fits in with the vibe of his profile picture all the time. Not getting very far, to be honest. No sign of any Premiership savvy players that the club promised. I don't know exactly what you're meaning by Premier League savvy. If you're just meaning players that have been in the Premier League for ages, this is that weird form of exceptionalism that we tend to do as a fan base, where it's like the thing that we do is the only thing that matters in the world of football. Like, if you would have looked at Autanaka, you would have gone, second Bundesliga, he's going to be shit. Turns out, very much unshit. But you wouldn't have expected that because of where he came from. And the fact that we've got Biol from Serie A, who various very, very large clubs and European sides were looking at, it's a very good sign. And in addition to that, you've got to consider the names that are being thrown about right now, such as a Diarra, such as Muniz, who is intent on, Fulham are intent on keeping him. You can say we've not got any sign of Premiership savvy players, but it doesn't matter if they played in the Premier League before. It matters if they're good at football or not. And we are going to dive into the Diarra thing as well. I'm not going to go through all the hellos, but hello to everyone that said hello, including Danny, including Darren, including Carl, including Jonesy. But we're going to dive into the Diarra stuff right away, because this is originally this was just going to be a Diarra flavored stream, and that was going to be fine, and it was going to be good, and it was going to be great. However, if I've remembered to change the title, it is no longer a Diarra emphasized kind of vibe, because if I hop into the live control room, there it is. Yes, I did change the words. Diarra is the player that we are chasing after. He's the Senegalese player who scored against England, and everyone got very, very excited about signing him. There's been a couple of little updates on him. The first one is, as mentioned, Sunderland have a little bit of an interest in the guy. This is completely understandable. We kind of knew that that would be coming because there will be other clubs interested in a fairly good footballer. That's obviously going to be the case, and the players that we are looking at are going to be the sort of players that Sunderland are maybe looking at, because we're very much in identical positions to one another. Ish. A lot of people will argue against that because at the end of the day, our budget is going to be bigger than their budget. And in terms of prestige and stuff, right now we've got a little bit more than they do because they've spent a lot longer in the lower levels. But in addition to that, there was a little bit of an update from the big famous transfer newsman, that I don't particularly like, from Fabrizio Romano, who came out saying something along the lines of, if I can find it. This might take a moment to load, so my apologies, but I'm doing my best here. There we go. Yes, on Give Me Sport, which is a sort of website that works quite often with Fabrizio Romano, he dropped a bombshell on Diarra ahead of pre-season, which was previously unknown. Leeds are actively in negotiations for the player. He's really appreciated, Romano said. Diarra is one of the most appreciated options internally, but it's not an easy deal because of the valuation. The valuation being something like, I think, £25 million off the top of my head. So it's complicated to make it happen, but Leeds are trying. If I remember right, Leeds' initial bid was along the lines of 23 million quid, which is a hell of a lot of money, but it's not what Strasbourg are specifically asking for, which means they're not necessarily going to sell, they're not going to need to. Behind the scenes, there's been conversation around Diarra and the club president having had an agreement with each other that Diarra would move this season if an acceptable bid came in. But in the majority of circumstances, that means that there is a firm line as to what is considered that acceptable bid. So in this case, it would be the £25 million, because Strasbourg are going to want plenty of value for money from their assets. Their assets in this case, Diarra. They know he's got a very high ceiling because he played really damn well for them last time out, and they're not going to give him away. That demand of 25 million quid is completely fair, in my opinion. Whether or not we go to it is a pretty damn good question, but he is of the ability, in my opinion, to be worth a sort of fee along those lines. But it's sort of hard to 100% establish right away. I'm going to have a quick hop to the comments, though, to cover the Diarra natter, because I'm going to go bit by bit. Window doesn't shut till the 1st of September. People need to be patient. This is a pretty good point, yeah. A lot of people are jumping in and sort of asking, why haven't we signed everyone yet? And it's because, well, we don't need to. It's because we've got a long-ass time. Admittedly, it's nice to do it sooner, but we've already got 2 players in through the door, and they're 2 players that will be match-day squad level. So ideally, we get more relatively quickly, but if it takes a little bit of a while, then that's fine. I agree with Carl. I think we will get our targets, and at the very least, we'll get some fairly strong targets, so it's fine. Hope he signs. I've just seen some Arsenal fans thinking we should sign Pulp. Arsenal fans are nuts, though. I mean, wow, how many surprises next week? Never said like, what? I didn't talk about surprises all next week. And yes, I've been doing that because when you do YouTube stuff, you want people to click on your stuff, and if you want people to click on your stuff, then you're going to adjust things to suit what people are going to want to click on. So that's how it works. Good morning, White Snake. This is why I want the players to go up instead of Sunderland. Be good if we miss out to Sunderland. I'd be equally good if it was to Sheffield United, though, because at the end of the day, it's missing out on a player to a fellow Premier League club. Like, the specific name of it, whether it's Sunderland or Sheffield United, doesn't matter too much. And on this, I've heard nothing about that, but again, this is probably about right. I don't particularly care. We want players that are going to do pretty well, and you want to keep that behind-the-scenes atmosphere good, because that's how ultimately you get promoted, by having a squad that works as a unit. But at the end of the day, if it's Josh Gilavogi or a Rafinha, because Rafinha had an ego on him, we've got to admit this, but it's the sort of ego that takes him to be one of the best players in the world, so it's completely fine and understandable. But if he can do the job, then he does the job. Hello, Jammy. Hope you're doing well. Anyway, let's hop on to the next of the stories, and this is the little bit of update on Rodrigo Muniz, where there has been a lot of conversation around the fact that Leeds have submitted an increased bid. Now, this is not the most guaranteed and certain of news. I'm going to have a very, very quick look at the article just to make sure that I've got everything right. Because if I've not, I'm going to feel very, very daft. Da, da, da. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. Yeah, the specific bit on this was, we know that Fulham have plenty of forwards. That's why they're in the position that they are, where they're a reasonably comfortable Premier League side. They're not a team that's been struggling at all as of late, effectively. But whilst it's been understood in the broad footballing sense, Hold on, I'll just quickly address this first. Is it true something get the full Premier League global losses? Yes, but they get it from next season forwards. It's the season in which you are in the Premier League that you've got those losses. So they don't get them for the Championship season, but they'll have them next season. 1 second. There we go. Yeah. Lyle Thomas said, understand that as far as Fulham are concerned, Rodrigo Muniz is not for sale. He remains an important part of Marco Silva's squad amid the interest from Leeds United and others. This would be fine. This would be good. We would accept this and we would move on. However, this is where things feel a little bit complicated. Because today, David Ornstein did a exclusive report saying that Fulham are pursuing a deal to sign Romulo, I don't know, one of those, from Göztepe. Fulham bid is 16 million euros in add-ons and a sell-on clause. Rejected without a counter, but talks are ongoing. Göztepe want north of 20 million euros. Other clubs are targeting the Brazilian. This is where things get a little bit complicated. Because if you sort by the number of minutes that each player had at Fulham last season, Rodrigo Muniz is fairly far down the order. If you're looking at forward, you're looking at Raul Jimenez, who was their starting 9 for the majority of the season. You're looking at Adama Traore, you're looking at Harry Wilson. That's a rough front 3 right there. They had Carlos Vinicius as well. So currently, Rodrigo Muniz is effectively second choice number 9. And then if they're bringing in another number 9 for 20 million euros, probably it's going to end up at that number. Then what's going on? In that case, why are they looking for another player that's looking to break into the first team, another promising young Brazilian striker to do all this kind of stuff? Because they're both 23 years old as well. So it feels like a pure replacement. So in this case, does that open the door for us potentially signing Muniz? Fun little hiccup. Maybe. And I kind of hope that that is the case. And I don't know. It might be a case of they're looking at Romulo just in case they lose Rodrigo Muniz. It might be a case of they're expecting to lose Muniz and they're just playing hardball. I don't know. But the entire thing is incredibly complicated. We're also apparently being a little bit linked with Demirovic, but that's not anything particularly reliable, to be honest with you. Going to cover the chatty bits. Why doesn't? I don't know. But why don't we go after Troy Parrott? Is because Troy Parrott has not been especially good. A lot of people will point to his goals in the last season. They'll point to his time at AZ Alkmaar. But in counter to that, Alkmaar ain't the best of teams, and they ain't in the best of divisions. And having a little bit of a chat with Joe as well, he's not really been the best when he's played for Ireland either. Like, looking at when he has scored for Alkmaar, everyone will point to the fact that he scored 14 goals last season. There was one match against Heerenveen where they beat Heerenveen 9-1, and he personally scored 4 goals. That doesn't scream incredible player. To me, that screams horrible opposition. So that's one of the reasons I wouldn't particularly be tempted by Troy Parrott. And you're sort of missing out on the youth aspect of him at this point as well. So Troy Parrott is currently 23 and a half years old, right? 1 second. That's not how you spell Peru. There we go. Peru, 25 and a bit. So there's only like a 2-year gap, and it's like, I don't. When people are screaming that we need Parrott, it feels like it's not an understanding of Parrott's game, or specifically what we're going to be doing. The more they say he's not for sale, the more I think he is. That's a pretty good point. According to Connor this evening, he mentioned that Sunderland are trying to hijack the Leeds bid for Diarra by submitting 35 million euros from according to several sources. I hadn't seen the specific number. I knew Sunderland had an interest. Diarra, Sunderland. Let's have a look at the sources, shall we? A lot of this is Sunderland reportedly. It's not. If you could point me to the actual reports, internet. Isn't Alan Nixon very much 50-50? Maybe. They're seeing him as a replacement for Jobe Bellingham. Right, okay. I've got so many things to say about Jobe Bellingham. And none of them are kind. Well, some of them are kind. He's very clearly a player with a lot of potential and a fairly high ceiling. But he spent the entire second half of last season without a goal or an assist. And everyone's like, oh, this guy's incredible. He's going to become such a good player. He's primarily played as like the 10 or the 8. It's madness for me. I don't understand why he cost that. He cost more than Jude Bellingham. I don't think he's anywhere near him. There was another Kamara. I'm guessing Kamara. His name's synonymous with Leeds dating back first under Chris Kamara, different spellings. That's true. I think the radio silence because it's a complicated deal, but I think we'll get it done. I hope so. Another 4th of July extravaganza and release the kit and a couple of big signings next Friday. It could be. I've been told a couple bits on kit release and things around those lines, but I don't really want to like dive into it because I don't know if I can dive into it, so I'm not going to. Why is it 49ers into this, never 49ers doing that, never Daniel Farker doing this, Daniel Farker doing that? Because Daniel Farker isn't personally responsible for negotiating the transfers. That's not his job. Like, there is a transfer team behind the scenes for a pretty good reason. Like, he might sign off on them and say, yes, we do want this player, no, we don't want this player, but he's not the one that's responsible for those negotiations in any of those instances. That would be why. It's because it's not Daniel Farker doing the thing. It's someone else doing the thing. So that's why no one is saying that it's Daniel Farker doing it. Need to stop hanging on for players who won't be coming. Rodrigo De Paul comes to mind again. I don't think we were actually in for De Paul, looking back on it. Because at no point, like, it was said afterwards by the club themselves, like, we were never in for De Paul. So it feels like that was a big old bit of agent talk where maybe De Paul's own agent had confused him or something, but that didn't feel like it was on at all. Touch leagues like the Championship. That's a pretty fair judgment. Yeah, I'm still on the hunt for a reliable source. But we'll see. Can't see Sunderland blowing the Joe budget on one player. They'll also have just standard Premier League money, but you're right, Joe money is probably more important. Who knows where the transfer window blows? Exactly, it could be absolutely anywhere. But we can try to know, and we can have a guess. Scored his first goal for Dortmund during last weekend in the Club World Cup, playing more advanced position for Dortmund than he did for Sunderland in a better team. I watched that match, and he didn't do tons. He was a bit. He's one of those where I'm not entirely sure. He's sort of like he swings one way and the other, which is a little bit complicated. Wish him well. I hope he does okay. I kind of want us to get out of this position where we've got some players that are being judged on their surname. So, for example, the Greys we know are very, very good, but I would make the argument that Archie vastly better than Jobe Bellingham. And at the same time, everyone's sort of looking at Jobe Bellingham and going, "Oh, is he going to be playing for England in the next few years?" And it's like, Archie's right here. Archie's playing out of position and still getting into the top. I don't think there was a single game last season Archie played in midfield for Spurs. He was at right back, he was at left back, he was at centre back. At no point was he in the right place, which is nuts. It's madness. I don't understand it. Anyway, I'm going to cover the last of the stories, which is the Douglas Luiz one. He seems to be being pushed as a potential move for Leeds United. Let's give it a very, very quick skim over. Where's the news part? There we go. Recent reports have revealed Leeds are in the race to sign Luiz from Juventus. They paid 42 million, to sign him last summer, but are asking for 30, which doesn't feel huge. And the way that it's been phrased Leeds United have been offered that midfielder, which to me doesn't scream that Leeds are pushing for the move. It screams that the agent is pushing for a move. Juventus also want rid. So from multiple directions, it's like Douglas Luiz is going to be going somewhere. I don't know. Leeds, would you want him? And Leeds might have just said no, but in theory, it's still been offered. So hard to say. Never happening, but it'd be all right. Yeah, yeah. How your misshapen knees being a goal might be a blessing in disguise. It could be. The knees are feeling a little bit better, but I'm not going to be giving anything away to those filthy, filthy peacocks in advance of the charity match. That feels like that would be a bad idea, because I'm also not going to give away the top secret thing that is going to be happening, but is going to be very, very fun. Oh, when is that stream? That's not today, that's tomorrow. Hold on, I'm seeing who else is streaming this evening, so I can throw people in that direction. Okay. I'll stream until a little bit beyond past, because only Leeds Bros are on at past, and I'll ping you over in their general direction. But that's not happening just yet, because we're going to have a little bit of a chat about absolutely everything. Nepotism's always been around. Some people say Jesus only became famous because of who his dad was. No, this is different, because there are some footballers who get lifted up to a place beyond what their actual place is because of their parentage. To be fair to him, I'd call Jesus the Archie Gray of deities, because he was standing on a fairly big name, but he did still walk on water. So you got to give him a little bit of credit, you know. No fans in Germany. I think they're still pissed off with it. I'm not going to go there. Yeah, it's an incredibly weird one. I'm going to wait to see if we can find out a little bit more about all of that before I run a video or stream on it, because I don't want to go into it with incomplete information. But that is a bit weird. The fact that, again, we're doing a tour in Germany, we've not been allowed to advertise it, we're not allowed to run live streams, we're not allowed to show live updates. And it's like, so what's the point? What's happening here? And I think once we have a little bit more information on it, I will do a little something on that. But it's sort of a nightmare, because the issue is, pre-seasons are for revenue in a lot of cases. You're preparing your players and you're also earning a little bit of money, which is absolutely fantastic. It builds a little bit of finance and it helps you out. This is going to be it. And Sunderland also playing in Germany, being allowed fans, is a pain. But it is, because you're not able to sell tickets, you're not able to get any revenue, you're not able to do any of that. So whilst we do have the fixtures that are doing that, we've got Scum, we've got AC Milan, we've got Villarreal. We're bleeding a lot of ticket revenue in a lot of these cases, and it feels completely pointless. Because who wins, realistically? Yeah, I guess German policing don't need to be bothered, but they would have gotten paid for that anyway. You can say they're doing it in Germany because of Farke. You still get pre-season tours all over the place. And if they are, fine, because clearly last season it worked. It's just a massive question about everything else. I don't know. It wasn't that Leeds were going to put in a reserve team. It was that the other side were going to put in a reserve team. It was fairly significantly that AC Milan had another match either on the same day or the day before, which means that one of those two matches isn't going to be having the big names in it, which is a little bit of a shame. But it's a shame that it's gonna sting a little bit. It's gonna suck. It's gonna hurt, but it's fine. Hang on 1 sec. Cool. You see, again, we can say that, but it worked last time. And apparently we had reassurances from the police and everything that we would be completely okay and that we would be able to do stuff, but I don't know. It's like the guys in the Leeds game on the same day as Leeds come. Yeah, and that will basically be an under-21 side. Imagine being one of the under-21s and not being taken for that match. That would be devastating. That would not be a good position to be in. But yeah, it's the same sort of vibe, where I don't know whether we would be the priority of the sides, but I don't know. It does, and it takes one kind of person to make the world go flat, and that is flat earthers. Don't be a flat earther. No, come on. Science exists. It's all good. Is the club stopping fans from going? The club are reportedly going to strongly suggest that people do not go. We are not supposed to know, which is on advice from the police and stuff, which is annoying. No, this is because a deadline day signing, a deadline day signing. There we go. There's the words. A few years ago was Rafinha, and I wouldn't say that doing that business led to a Leeds failure. I would say that was the best bit of business Leeds have done in a very, very, very long time. So I'm gonna stick with it like that. If he was that good, top prem side would have been all over him. I mean, Dortmund aren't a bad side, but yeah, I don't know. I think Dortmund are just doing that thing again where they're ridiculously good at increasing the value of young English players and then selling them back to Premier League sides. And the fact that that has basically become like a pure like skill and talent of theirs is hilarious. I love it. It's quite fun. But it's a trap that hopefully we don't end up falling into because you sign players from Borussia Dortmund, you pay quite a lot of money. See the Bino Gittins deal that's going on at the moment. Sorry for the last comment, but Europe isn't the safest place to go. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? What happened with PSG? What? Oh, good. We're doing hate crimes. Yeah, let's not. Yeah, I think you said the Germans love young English. Well, there is Musiala at Bayern as well. So I don't know. Quite difficult. Yeah, like don't stereotype people. It feels like it's a fairly easy thing to do. Hold on. I'll do. If no bids come in for Melly and Bamford, I'll lead stuck with him for Siebel. Oh, foreseeable, I assume. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, Melier is a second choice. You can have worse. Bamford is a bench option. You can have worse. I'm not one of those people that is screaming, get him out, get him out, get him out, because you don't need to. It's fine. You can have a little bit of depth. You are building a squad. You are not just building a first team. And for every player that we get rid of, we need to get someone in to resort the balance, which makes it a little bit complicated. How many more players do you want in and who? It is a bit. I can show you fucking statistics. Could do with a 10. Could do with an 8, probably. Another number 9 would be good. Left back would be ideal. Maybe another right back. Definitely another goalkeeper. And probably a winger. I don't want Harrison starting. Jack Harrison is the one that I can't be bothered about. Like, Jack Harrison has repeatedly tried to force his way out, and the fact that some people are, I wouldn't mind him at this point is like, sure, from a pure like we need to stay in the Premier League perspective, I completely get that, but from the perspective of valuing the club itself and having our own back, I think if we just accept Jack Harrison back, it's a mistake. Because it's just opening the door to someone that was absolutely horrific to us, which is, yeah. What's the news on Carew? I don't think there is any news on Carew. He might be a bench warmer, but if he's even in the squad, I'm not going to be super jolly about it. It's like, eh. Let's say deadline day comes around, you have 20 million to spend. Calvin's there. Do you take him? It depends on who we get in the meantime beforehand for me. I would probably go in other directions because there's a lot of talent to be found just around. And if you're looking at him from a completely unbiased perspective, then I don't think you'd sign him if he didn't come out of the Leeds Academy. I don't know who you're talking about in regards to this one, unless it's Jack Harrison. If it's Jack Harrison, I agree. He probably has to go. I can see MLS lower end Premier League maybe being the one for him, but from a purely sort of personal perspective, I don't want to keep him around. I don't know. I think he's got bad vibes. He's got bad juju, and it makes me sad, and it makes me grumpy, and I don't like being grumpy. Sounds like Carew Younglad was on loan this season. You want about Charlie Crew? I don't think we've had any news on Charlie Crew, have we? What I am going to do is I'm going to bring the stream to an end in a moment. I'm going to say subscribe to the channel. That's massively appreciated and indirectly giving money to charity anyway. Like the stream if you enjoyed it, become a channel member, and get tickets to the Creator Cup. The link is down below. I'm going to ping you over to Only Leeds Bros, and what we are going to spam is oh, the roses. Peacocks are getting shot down. That'll do it. Anyway, copy that. We'll paste it in the chat when we head over to Only Leeds Bros. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.